y'all, welcome to Criminally Creative, a channel about my various creative endeavors. Today is Saturday, January 4th, 2025, and this is episode 75. I'm Susan. You can find me on Ravelry as Legal Eagle and on Instagram as Criminally Creative, the number 1. If you're new here, I appreciate you coming to check me out. If you're returning, I appreciate you coming back. I did record just about 3 days ago. I think it was released 2 days ago, my end of 2024 whip parade, which went through all of my projects that I currently had on the needles. But I wanted to go ahead and record kind of a little bit of a December wrap-up type 2025 plans video and just kind of get up to date before we move on into the new year. So, this will be a little bit more traditional, not quite completely, but anyway, let's move on. First up is Hearsay. Not a lot since the last time I talked to you 3 days ago. I'm on my last couple of days of vacation before having to go back to work Monday. I've been off all of Christmas week and all of this past week, which was lovely because we're getting ready to go into crazy time at work, but, it's always hard to go back after a couple weeks off. I will actually get to work from home Monday, so that'll ease me back into it. And then back in the office on Tuesday. We've got a little bit of work from home through most of the month of January, but then by the end of January, we will be fully back in the office for the legislative session. So, for those of y'all who don't know, I work for the North Carolina General Assembly, so my work schedule fluctuates depending on whether or not they are in session or out of session. Excuse me. The only other thing since I last recorded is I spent a nice afternoon Thursday with my friend Michelle. We went up to a town about 20-30 minutes away from us and visited a newer quilt shop there that she has been to regularly. I had not had a chance to visit yet. Had lunch and just wandered downtown, and it was really nice to just kind of hang out. It had been a while, even though we live in the same town, it had been a while since we'd actually had a chance to spend some time together. So, anyway, so that was nice. Other than that, I've just been kind of doing a little bit of productive stuff and trying to relax my last few days. So I did get all the piles of projects put away from my whip parade, and that's about as productive as I've been. Christmas is still in boxes sitting in the dining room needing to be hauled out to the shed. At least it's put away. Just hasn't gone to where it gets stored. Anyway, so that's about it for Hearsay. The only verdict I have since my last regular episode was the hat that I was making for my youngest granddaughter. I gifted that. I didn't give it to her as a Christmas present. It was just my daughter had said she needed a new hat. So I did finish that when we were there Christmas, and I gave it to her, and I didn't think to take a picture, but it was just a pink 3x2 ribbed hat. So, sorry, no picture of that. So we will move on to quarters in session and the cross stitch. Don't have any knitting to show you really. I started another hat with some leftovers, but I didn't think to bring it in here, and that's really the only thing I've worked on. But the cross stitch, I'll give you the December stats. If you go back and watch my whip parade, I gave you the stats for the entire year of 2024. But the end of the month, December stats, I did 18,020 stitches in December. I stitched 26 days, 80 hours on 12 projects. And I only have 3 projects to show you today, and they're the 3 that I've worked on since the first of the year. So I am not going to try to fill in the 2 weeks between my last episode and my whip parade as far as the little bit of progress I made there, because you would have seen the totality of that progress in the whip parade. So if there's a project that you know I was working on that I'm not mentioning today and you're interested, you can go back and watch that, which is 2 hours, but you can take breaks. Anyway, court in session. First up was my New Year, New Start. This is in this bag from Barefoot Needle Arts. And as usual, if you're new here, I will be posting a picture of the project as it will look when I finish. And if it is not a new start, I will post a picture of what it looked like the last time you saw it. This is Touching the Autumn Sky by Mirabilla, which I told you would be my New Year, New Start. in my last regular episode, I showed it to you that I had found it on eBay for a price I was willing to pay and bought it for myself for Christmas. So, I started this January 1st, 2025. I'm doing it on a 32 count Lugana from Atomic Ranch in the Forget Me Not colorway. And I have done 575 stitches, which is 5.2%. I will show you another fabric later in my stashing for retirement that I had ordered as a possibility for this, but I decided this fabric, which was already in my stash, was a little bit better tone-wise in the color of blue. It has a hint of purple to it, which makes it just look a little bit more like autumn sky to me. Next up is in this bag from Allegra Stitches. This is a, sorry, I forgot to unsnap the thing that's holding the handles together. Bag that has like 2 pockets. Excuse me. This is Quarantine Cats, which is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, based on artwork by Bridget Ashwood. This is my largest project as far as stitch count goes. It's 350,000 stitches or something like that. Anyway, I started this February 25th of 2021. It's on a 25 count potato Lugana, and I have done 1,519 stitches in the last couple days, and it's currently at 4.1%. So most of where I did is filling in more around that moon, and I started a little bit over in the area next to it. If you're new here, my method of stitching full coverage is to pick a symbol that's towards the left, towards the topmost left, and thread the needle and follow wherever that thread will take me until the thread runs out. Within, the general area. Like for this one, I'm having to mark with a pen, with a fabric pen, the grid. So within the gridded area that I've marked off on that is it's kind of where I'll go. On Easy Grid, I'll go a little further because, for example, on that one, when I sat down to stitch this time, I marked a few more vertical, or a few more grids, vertical and horizontal, and started stitching and realized that the last vertical that I marked those new ones off of was actually 11 stitches away instead of 10 stitches away from the one before it. So I realized it early enough on, and I haven't messed up, but I had to go back in and kind of create new lines. So I'm having to count a lot more to be sure I'm accurate rather than following the grid until I basically get all that covered up. So anyway, and the last one I want to show you is in this bag, which I bought from Stitchery Express, I think it's called, on Facebook. And this is The Mandalorian by Forbidden Fiber Co. I started this on July 16th of 2022. It's on 36 count Forbidden Fiber fabric in the Tumbleweed colorway. Excuse me. And I did 531 stitches. And I'm currently at 46.3%. So I did the O and used the rest of the thread there. And then I've been filling in around here. I was trying to think. I thought of something else I was going to say. I'm doing this as charted, except that I have moved Grogu over this way a few stitches. He's charted to be a little bit more over here, and I wanted it a little bit more centered over this half. So, and you will be seeing that one again regularly for a while until it's done. And that's all the cord section I have to show you this time. So on the docket, I'm going to give you a rundown of my 2025 plans and what that means for January. And then we'll do stashing for retirement after that. So if you're not interested in seeing what the little bit of haul I have, then you can move on after that. So 2025 plans. As I mentioned, my work is getting ready to get crazy here into January, early February. Probably January, February, we're going to be okay. March is when it will really ramp up. So my stitching hours are probably going to be a little less this year. My work cycles, odd number years are what we call long sessions, where they start in January. In even number years, they don't really come in and start session until like late April, early May. So it's just a longer period of time, excuse me, that has the potential for my work hours to be crazy. So I did not want a ton of obligation stitching this year. I still have some significant stitch count goals, but I didn't want as many project goals, if that makes any sense. So here's the plan for 2025. We'll see how it sticks. Kingdom of Books, which is the full coverage piece that I'll put pictures of finished projects here just so you'll know which projects I'm talking about, but I'm not going to show you pictures of where I am or anything for purposes of this. So Kingdom of Books is the project that I did at least 2,000 stitches a month in last year, and that is the full coverage piece, or the big piece that I'm going to try to finish this year. It currently needs another 31,856 stitches. Excuse me. Which averages out to about $2,650 a month. I am going to start the year trying to get at least 3,000 a month for the first couple of months of the year, when I think I'll have a little bit more time. Because like I said, I think March, April, May, that might be harder to do. And hopefully that'll front load me a little bit so that by summertime, I won't be really far behind. So that is the big project that I am aiming to finish this year. Anzac, which is my Long Dog Leap Day sampler that I started February 29th of 2024 as a leap year project. My goal for that is to get 600 stitches a month, and that will continue. As I mentioned in my whip parade, what I may do is start working 1,200 stitches every other month, so that hopefully frees up a little time every other month, if that makes any sense. We'll see. It just depends on how it goes. The Whip Go. I am doing Whip Go this year. I have changed up it seems like every year I come up with a different goal for Whip Go, which is fine. That's what it's for. This year, the last 2 years, my Whip Go goals have been 10 hours on each project. What I'm moving to this year is stitch counts and only on specific projects. So what I did is the projects that I tend to pull out least, as far as just thinking, oh, I want to work on that, are my full coverage projects. I like my full coverage projects, but it's easier for me to work a few hundred stitches on something that's not full coverage than full coverage for some reason. I don't know why. So what I did from Whip Go this year is I started with my oldest full coverage pieces, excluding Kingdom of Books, which is my second oldest. Excuse me, because obviously I'm going to try to finish that this year. And I started calculating how many stitches 5% of the full coverage project was. And then figured out how many chunks I would have to divide that into to reach that 5%, with each chunk not being more. My ideal was like 1,500, 1,600 stitches. I think there's one that's 1,800 stitches. And then, so I did that until I got to 25 chunks, which there's 25 squares on a Whip Go board if you use the free square as a actual assigned square. So the result of that was that my 9 oldest full coverage, not counting Kingdom of Books, so got to my 10th oldest full coverage, are on my Whip Go board. And all of them except one, I will be doing 5% on in 2025. And I'll explain the other one when we get there. I'm going to run through the list real quick just to tell you what I'll be working on. So Treasure Hunt Bookshelf, which I have cropped. So this number is based on the crop version. We'll get 4,800 stitches. So there's 3 blocks of whip go on that. Across Winter Lake, we'll get 6,400 stitches. So there's 4 blocks on that. That is the one that is like, no, that's not 18. That's not the one that's 1,800. That's only like 1,600. Quarantine Cats, which I just showed you, will get 4,500 stitches, which is 3 blocks. That is the one that I will not be stitching 5% of the project. I will be getting that project to 5% because, like I said, that is my biggest project. 5% of that project is over 17,000 stitches. So I knew I would have either had to take up at least half my whip go board to get it within the number of stitches I wanted per month, or do way more stitches than I really wanted to put on my whip go board for the months that came up. So instead, I will be doing 4,500 stitches on that to get it to 5% total on that project. Winter Cabin, which is a dimensions kit, will get 2,000 stitches, so that's 2 blocks. Blue Ridge, which is one of my smaller full coverages, will get 2,000 stitches, so that's 2 blocks. Dark Tower, which is also not a huge full coverage, will get 3,000 stitches in 2 blocks. Minnie the Wool Shop will get 3,900 stitches in 3 blocks. A Peacock, a Unicorn, and a Badger will get 5,400 stitches in 3 blocks. That's the one that I'll have to do 1,800 stitches on that one. That one's called. And then Minnie the 10th will get 3,900 stitches in 3 blocks. So Quarantine Cats, which you just saw, that 1,500 stitches was one of my January whip go calls. And that is already done. So I've got one more, which I'll tell you here in a minute. So that's the whip go plan. It's all full coverage. It's just to get some project progress on my full coverages this year. That's all of the stitch count goals, requirements that I am doing for 2025. So Kingdom of Books, 600 stitches a month on Anzac, and whatever the 2 whip go calls are. This month it was Quarantine Cats, 1,500, and Across Winter Lake, 1,600. So that's what, 3,100 plus another 3,000 on Kingdom of Books plus 600 on Anzac. So that's almost 4,000 stitches. Last year, most months I got anywhere from 16,000 to 19,000 in some stitches. So that's really only about 25%. This year I expect those numbers to be a little bit lower, but it still should not be. It should only be like 30, maybe 40% of the number of stitches I do each month, hopefully. So, the next kind of way of working through whips and trying to get some finishes is I have a list of projects that I think I'd like to finish in 2025 and that I think are possible to finish in 2025. And so I will be working on one of those at a time, trying to do at least 500 stitches a week on that. Right now, that is The Mandalorian, which you just saw. So that's why I got 500 stitches this week. I think that one still needs like 3,500 stitches. So if I only do 500 a week, that's going to be 7 weeks before that's done. But I know that I will probably do a little bit more than 500 a week, and probably as I get closer, that will get more. So I don't anticipate that taking a full 7 weeks to finish. We'll see. I am giving myself permission to, if I start to get a little burnout, even just doing 500 stitches a week on something, to set it aside and work on another one on that list for a while. But I kind of mentally, once I've decided to start working on that, I do want to go back to it and finish it this year. So I am going to keep trying to do the temperature stitching for as long as that lasts. I kind of anticipate that when work gets busy, March, April, May, that might fall by the wayside for at least a few months, and then I'll probably pick it back up again. So we'll see. I do want to focus that on some of my older projects. particularly ones that maybe might not get finished this year, but that are older when I started them, just to keep some progress going. My goal on those would be 100 stitches for each day that their number comes up, until they get 2,000 stitches, and then I'll rotate them out and rotate something in. And like I said, I'll focus on my older projects, but I probably will keep at least one full coverage in there that's not on my Whip Go list. Right now, Blue Ridge is in that temperature stitching rotation, and Blue Ridge is on my Whip Go board. But I'm going to keep it in the temperature rotation until it hits its 2,000, and I'm going to do whatever comes up with Whip Go separate from that. But after that one has reached its 2,000, any other full coverages that get pulled in will not be Whip Go board full coverages. Excuse me. Right now, in addition to Blue Ridge, the projects that are in temperature stitching are A Tisket a Tasket, Cardinal Points, Winter White Santa, and Sleepy Hollow. And if you go to my video from like December 20th-ish, somewhere around there, you can see, I think, most of those. Other than that, my only kind of rules for myself are any new start will get a minimum of 1,000 stitches, with the exception of if the project has less than 10,000 stitches, it will get at least 10%. But always a minimum of 500 stitches, unless it's something like a mill hill kit, in which case mentally I'm more like 100 to 200. But I don't, if you've watched my Whip Parade and you saw my size numbers, I don't tend to pick up a lot of smalls or minis, unless I'm doing them for like a smalls exchange or something. So for the most part, most new starts will be 1,000. That's why, Touching the Autumn Sky, I've done 575 on, but it will stay out until it hits 1,000 before I put it away for a while. And then if I pull out any other project to work on, I will do at least 500 stitches on it before it gets put away again. Other than that, the only other kind of restriction I'm sort of placed on myself, and this is hard, nothing is hard and fast rule for me. If I can justify it in my mind, I'll change my mind. But I'm currently at 94 whips with Touching the Autumn Sky. I would like to keep my whip count at 100 or less. If I'm at 101 and I have a mill hill, I'm not going to stress about it. But I do want to start working on some of these whips I have more, and not starting a gazillion things. But it's all fun. And for me, I'm very much a process stitcher. I like the end result. But as you can see, I don't fully finish a lot of things. I mean, One Nation is still laying over here needing to be finished. I did buy some fabric the other day to maybe use for the back, but I'm not convinced that's the right fabric. All of my monthly Quakers from the last that I did in late 23 and early 24 still have not been fully finished so that I can display them in my office. I'm all about the process, and once it's done, and maybe I'll get it finished. So I just don't want to have so many that I can't get work done on them. So that's all my kind of plans for 2025. I am going to be playing games in Semi-Sane Stitchers, Whip Warriors, and Full Coverage Fanatics. And those are, for me, are more just, they help me decide what projects to work on. They give me little goals. They just help motivate me. The same way that keeping the statistics and counting the stitches and stuff helps me see the progress and what I've done. Excuse me. So all of that means on the docket for January is I still need to do 1,600 stitches on Across Winter Lake, which is my other Whip Go call for the month. I need to do 3,000 stitches on Kingdom of Books. I want to continue to try to do at least 500 stitches a week on The Mandalorian. And I need to do 1,200 stitches on Anzac because I did not get to that in December. So I need to do December 600 plus January's 600. And as I mentioned in my Whip Parade and actually previously, is I may try to start. So when I do the 1,200 for December and January, I may wait till the end of February and do 1,200 for February and March, so that I don't have to do it again until towards the end of April. And then I'd do it for April and May, that way. We'll see. I may, on the other hand, if I get done with everything else around April, I may go ahead and just knock out 600 or 1,200. We'll see. I am a little bit ahead of hitting 25% by the end of February. I think I was at like 22.1%. And if I do the 1,200 plus another 600, that would actually put me a little over 25%. So I'm not stressing about that too much. And then, like I said, the temperature stitching, I will keep up with that, I'm sure, through January. And then we'll see from there where that goes. So that is it for my plans for 2025 and for January. And so now I'm going to move on to stashing for retirement. So if you're not interested in seeing that, then I'll let you go. But if you are, then let me show you what I've bought. Most of this physical that I'll show you in a minute was club type stuff. Actually, I'll show you that first. We'll get this part out of the way, and then I'll show you the digital patterns that I bought, because there were several sales online at the end of the year, and typical me, end of the year, I think, oh, I'm going to be better about my spending than New Year, so let me buy everything now. It's kind of like let me start everything at the end of the year, because I'm not going to start so many things the next year. Some of these are clubs, a couple of things are not. So I have paused all of my fabric subscriptions for 2025, except for the only one I kept is the Barefoot Needle Arts Quarterly Club. And while Barefoot Needle Arts fabric is fabulous, I didn't keep them because they're so much better than everybody else. It's because they're quarterly. So it's only 4 times a year instead of every month. So I still feel like I'm getting a little surprised, but it's not quite so frequently. The main reason I've paused them is I am not starting things as fast as I was, and I've just got a ton of fabric, and I just need to, and then I go to retreats or whatever, and I buy more fabric. So I need to slow down the fabric intake, at least for a while, until I use some of what I've got. So I got my first quarter fabric for Barefoot Needle Arts. They sent them out a little bit early this year, this time. And I think everybody should have theirs by now. But if you don't and you haven't seen this, please look away. I'm going to tell you the name because I don't think it'll give away the color. The color is called Horseshoe Bay. I get this in 40 count linen. And that is, it's beautiful. I don't want to, well, hopefully if you're not looking, you're closing your ears also, because it's definitely, I will tell you, it's pink, not red. I think it's looking more red in the camera than it really is, but it is definitely a pink. So it's really pretty. Next up was my December Atomic Ranch fabrics from, that I was getting through Pam at Stitch New England. This was called Bubblegum, and this again was 40 count linen. Also pink, different shade. And then also from Stitch New England, I did, the Fabulous Houses last year through them. This was House 13. Was it Cottage Garden Samplings, the Tudor style house. So I got that. And then I also ordered some more fabric from Pam. When I was looking for fabric for Touching the Autumn Sky, this was the fabric that I ordered from her that I thought would work. And it would work. It's 32 count Lugana from Grace Notes in the Colleen colorway. And as you can see, it is very similar to what I'm doing it on. It's just this is more of a straight blue, and what I went with has a little hint of lavender to it, and I just felt like the tone suited a little better. So, but I will find something equally beautiful to put on that. And then, of course, while I was ordering stuff from her, I saw other things that I liked and had to order. This is 32 count linen from Atomic Ranch in the Into the Woods colorway. I did actually order this as a possible for Touching the Autumn Sky, because for a while I was trying to decide if I was going to do like the blue sky or if I was going to do something more fall feeling. And I tend to go for these kind of greeny bluey greens and stuff for fall projects. But then I decided I did want to keep the kind of sky look. And then because she had just gotten a shipment of needle and flax, I got a 40 count linen needle and flax in the Steinbeck, which is just a good neutral. And then I went on a Plum Street kick because, first of all, Burn Stitches did a video. She's doing a year of Plum Street in 2025 where she is going to either start or work on an existing whip of a Plum Street pattern every month. So she did a video that showed the 12 patterns she was planning to do. And then she just showed a bunch of Plum Street patterns she had. Plum Street is one of my favorite designers. I had a ton of her patterns already, but in looking and watching her video, and then I was talking to Nancy, the Disorderly Stitcher, and I were messaging, and she was talking about a Plum Street pattern that she was doing, and we were talking about getting it into markup and stuff, and I realized I didn't actually own that pattern, even though I liked it. So, long story short, I went on a bit of a Plum Street pattern ordering binge, and so most of these are not new pattern. Actually, I think all of these are not new patterns. They're just patterns that when I started looking, I realized I didn't have, and I liked them, and I wanted them. And I actually have 2 more coming from Country Sampler, plus a kit for the Comfort and Joy pattern that is currently only available through Country Sampler as a kit from Plum Street. So, all of the Plum Street. So, this is no particular order. A Shepherd's Song. Olga's Tart. Marry You. George Decorates for Martha. Sorry for the glare. I didn't want to take all these out. George and Martha. The Gather In. This is the one that Nancy and I were talking about that made me realize I didn't have it. And somebody else I watched recently is working on this. Brenda, the Handwork Maniac, I think. I think that's who in her Whip Parade showed it. Betsy's Autumn. And Adorn Your Heart. So I got all of those from 123 Stitch. Like I said, I ordered a couple more from Country Sampler that 123 Stitch was out of. And that was after I had already placed the order for Country Sampler for the kit for Comfort and Joy. So hopefully those will come in. I know something has shipped from Country Sampler. I'm not sure if it's just the 2 patterns or if it is also my kit. We'll see. And then, like I said, several sites had sales towards the end of the year, so I did purchase some patterns digitally. And one of these was a gift reward. Anyway, well, I'll show. I'll pop up pictures as I talk. Stitch is So Beautiful. In December, I did her challenge. She does a challenge on her business page, not in her group, but in the business page, where if you at the beginning of the month say you're going to join the challenge, you tell her what pattern you're going to work on, and then you post some progress every week of the month. There's no stitch requirement, no minimum number of stitches. You just got to show progress. Then at the end of the month, you'll get whatever pattern she has shown as the pattern for the month free. So I got my pattern for December, which was Stained Glass Peonies and Bee, which I'll put a picture of here. The January pattern I really liked, but I just wasn't willing to make the commitment. The only Stitch is So Beautiful pattern I have started so far is Boreal Colors, which I love. And there's a couple other of her patterns I want to start, but I really did not want to start off the year with a bunch of starts. So, excuse me. So I held off. Even though I love the pattern this month, I knew it wasn't something that I was likely to stitch soon. Pardon me. So I didn't do it this month, rather. But I also got her email and some of her new releases, and there was a new pattern she's done by Eder Jose Rosa, which seems to be my favorite artist that she does patterns for, that I went ahead and bought because as a new release, it was either 10 or 20% off. And that is At Sunset, The Mystery Emerges. I love the mountains. My husband's a hunter, so that's something I probably will do eventually at some point. It's not going to get started anytime soon. In December, Haid, of course, was having a 50% off sale part of the year, so I bought a couple of patterns I'd had on my wish list for a while. I bought Mini Moon River, based on artwork by Jeffrey Severn. I think you'd say Severn. It's just a cute, fun, whimsical piece that I have loved, and I don't know when I'll ever start it, but I wanted to have it. It's one of those things I could see like being done and put in a bathroom or something. I don't know, or a kid's room. And then I finally bought a stitching shelf based on artwork by Amy Stewart. I don't know that I'm not going to start it anytime soon. I really just kind of wanted to have it. And quite honestly, if I do it, if you're familiar with Heaven and Earth Designs, they have what they call quick stitches of some of the shelves on the stitching shelf. But the quick stitches are really almost as big as they've basically zoomed in and enlarged portions of that pattern. What I think I may want to do eventually is do some of the portions of the shelves in the same picture that they've done quick stitches, but do it from the full pattern so that they're smaller. I hope that makes sense. Kind of the same way I've cropped Treasure Hunt bookshelf. You can get I think they call it a story keep on that one, or a quick stitch of that portion of Treasure Hunt bookshelf. But if you do, it's almost as big as the entire Treasure Hunt bookshelf. So, so basically I bought the whole pattern, and I may just do crop portions of it eventually at some point. The next one is The Fault of the Two Martini Stitcher, Erin. She did a video she is doing a year of 100 starts in 2025, which was a lot of fun to watch. Go watch that if you haven't. And one of the patterns that she showed I had never seen and I loved, so I immediately went and bought that. And that is All Roads Lead Home by Darling and Whimsy. Sorry, I need to slow down so I can talk clearly. So that wasn't on sale or anything. I just went and bought that. And then Twin Peaks Primitive was having a sale, and I love most of their Santas, and I've kind of slowly been picking them up here and there. So I bought 4 more Santas from them. I got Woodland Santa with Lantern. I got Santa's Trilogy 1, which is the one with the sheep. I got Santa's Trilogy 3, which is the one with the llama. And then I got the Kringle series, Kris Kringle, which is a blue Santa. Excuse me. So that is it for stashing for retirement. On the calendar, I have the Stitch and Thrift Retreat in Lexington, South Carolina, the weekend of January 17th through 19th. And then I'm doing the Barefoot Needle Arts Retreat the weekend of February 7th through 9th. Those are the only 2 things I have planned for the foreseeable future, craft-related. And probably will be, unless something comes up more short-term, will probably be it till at least fall or something. So I'm going to try to record again in 2 weeks. That will actually be the weekend I'm at Stitch and Thrift, but that is the Martin Luther King holiday weekend. So probably I will either try to record Sunday evening after I get home or Monday, the holiday. We'll see. So hopefully you'll get another video about mid-January. I'm going to try for at least the first couple months of the year to stick to the twice-a-month schedule. As work gets busy, it might be more like once a month for a few months. But then hopefully towards the end of summer, I can go back to twice a month. Or I might be able to keep it up twice a month. I don't know. We'll just see. So when work gets crazy, it is not unusual for me to have to go into the office and work on Sundays. so that just to get ready for the next week, which means Saturday ends up being like my only day off. And sometimes I'd rather stitch than record the video. So, but also I need to do laundry and groceries and all that stuff on the one day I have. Anyway, so I will say now I plan to be back in 2 weeks, and that should not be a problem. If at some point, February, March, April, I disappear for a couple of months and do not record, don't worry about me. It just means work swamped and I haven't had time. But hopefully I'm going to be able to keep up with at least once a month. We'll see. Anyway, that's all. I hope you're all having a wonderful start to 2025, and we will see you soon. Bye, y'all.